Good morning, grade 2s and grade 3s who are joining us. Welcome. Let's review the questions that I gave you last time and let's see if you figured out the answers. Make our T first. We always start with the ones when we add and subtract. 3 plus 7. Now let's use the finger thing. So we start with the 3. We're not going to count it again. We already know it's 3. We're going to put up 7 fingers. Here we go. And we're going to count on. Are you ready? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3 plus 7 is 10. Now we've got double digits, which means they can't both stay. The 10 is going to go over to the tens column. The ones can stay there. So now we have another 10 plus 6 tens plus 1 10. Now why don't we do a little bit of math here and add these ones together to make 2. 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. And our answer here is 80. All right, let's move on to this one close to me down here. Make our T, start with the ones. We have 4 plus 7. Again, we're going to start with 4. There's no need to count it again. We all know what 4 is. Let's put up 7 fingers. Here we go. And let's count on from 4. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Once again, we've come up with a double-digit number. Can't do it. We need to take this 10 next door to the tens column. There we go. We've got 1 left over. Now we have 1 plus 4 plus 3. Now let's use that trick from before. And let's add the 1 and the 3 together to make a 4. And if you know your doubles, 4 plus 4 is 8. And so we have the answer 81. Finally, let's go over to our last question here and make our T, starting with the ones. 2 plus 9, starting with 2, because we already know what a 2 is. There's no need to redo that. Starting with 2, putting up 9 fingers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Once again, we've come up with a double-digit number. Let's take that 10 next door to the tens column. 1 plus 5 plus 3. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 3 more, 7, 8, and 9. And we have 91. So hopefully you were able to figure those out on your own. If that didn't make sense to you, you can re-watch me doing that there. And let's move on to our lesson of the day, which is comparing numbers. Now, if you don't know what I mean by comparing numbers, once I introduce the vocabulary, I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out. Sorry to pause in a weird spot there. My dog got caught under a chair, so it was a whole thing. Anyway, as I was saying, once I write down the vocabulary, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So first of all, we're going to talk about greater than. I can hear some of you saying, oh yeah, that thing. We'll also talk then about less than. And of course, equal to. All right, let's do a few examples, starting with the super easy. Let's do 9 and 2. I know, so easy. You all know that 2 is the greater number. Now, if you remember, what we do is we draw that symbol in the middle that looks like a mouth. And the way that a lot of kids remember is that the mouth wants to eat the bigger number. So we would draw this symbol. And the way you would read this is 9 is greater than 2. So this symbol is actually known as the greater than symbol. Okay? Now, let's change that around so we can practice the other symbols that go with the vocabulary. Let's do slightly bigger numbers this time. Let's do 11 and 25. Okay, so if we look at these numbers, we have 11 and 25. Now 11 only has 1 10, but 25 has 2 10s. That's obviously a bigger number, and so the mouth is going to be pointing this way this time. And so you would read this as 11 is less than 25. So the less than symbol looks like this. Finally, so that we have all the symbols we need to go with our vocabulary, if we had 36 and 36, well, neither is greater, neither is less than, they are equal. And that's with 2 lines. You're used to seeing that symbol when you do addition, subtraction questions. And what it really is telling you is that what's on one side is exactly the same as what's on the other side. We're used to thinking of it as being the answer, and it is, but it also means that both sides are the same. I think you remember in class, I used a balance scale, and I showed you that if you had the same thing on both sides, then the scale would balance and it was equal to each other. Okay, so that's what that really means. And that might not seem like a big distinction right now, but when you get older, that's going to be something you're going to have to think back on. So tuck that away in the back of your mind, and that may come in handy when you're learning big kid math. For the time being though, greater than, less than, and equal to. Now, the trick to doing greater than, less than, and equal to is rather than like in adding and subtraction where we start with the ones, start with the highest place value. Now, the reason for that is the difference between numbers is bigger if the largest place values differ more. So I didn't explain that exactly in the right words here, so let me show it to you, and I think it'll make more sense. Okay, so let's say that I have 93 and 13. Now I chose 2 numbers that are really different in size so you could see how obvious it is. 93 and 13. Obviously 93 is far, far, far bigger or greater than 13. You know that it's going to need a greater than sign. Now, if you look at the ones are actually the same. So at first glance, you might think, oh, they have the same ones, maybe they're similar. But as we look at the tens, you can see that there is a very large difference between these numbers. 9 tens is quite a bit more than 1 10. To show that with a different example now, and I'll just write that underneath rather than erase it, let's change that up and let's say we have 43 and 41. All right, so this time the tens are the same and the ones are different. Now if you look, 43 and 41 are not that different in size. Now 43 is greater, but not by a lot, just by a couple of numbers. And so that's why it's helpful to look at the largest, or at the highest place value, because that's going to show you the greatest difference between the numbers. So the way to do that then, and let me give you a bigger example now, one that's maybe a little less obvious. Let's do 86 and 92. Okay. So if we look at the tens place, the higher place value, we can see that 86 has 8 tens and 92 has 9 tens. So you can think about it this way for a second. Which is bigger, 80 or 90? Now, most of you will know right away, 90 is bigger. So the other numbers don't even really matter. It doesn't matter that it's 86. It doesn't matter that it's 92. 80 is less than 90. So we already know that 86 is less than 92. So we write the lesser than sign. All right. Now, for example, then, if we looked at 76 and 79, we look at the tens place and we realize, oh, they're equal. They are the exact same, 70 and 70. There's no difference. So now we have to look at the ones to find what the difference is between them. We can look at the ones now and we realize that there's 6 ones and 9 ones, and we know that 9 is greater than 6. So we make the mouth go that way. There we go. Let's do a few more examples. And just for a challenge, perhaps I'll even give you a few triple-digit examples. Now, grade 2s don't actually need to know that until next year, but it never hurts to learn a little extra something. So why don't we take a look then at a few double-digit and then some triple-digit numbers. I'm going to write them all down, and while I'm writing, see if you can answer them at home, and then I will go over the answers and you'll be able to see if you got it correct, okay? $42, $51. $38, $29. $75, $78. $19, $91. All right, let me switch to a different color for the signs in the middle to make it really easy to see. So take a moment to look and see if you can figure out what the answer should be to each of these questions. Let's look first at 42 and 51. Now, as I said, look at the highest value digit first, and that in this case is the tens place, the 4 and the 5. So which is higher, 40 or 50? Now we know that 50 is a greater number. So the symbol that we use is the less than. 42 is less than 51. Again, sorry about the noise. My dog is hanging around and she just will not settle down. Let's look at the second point here. 38 and 29. Let's look at the tens place first. We have 30 and 20. So 30 is greater than 20, which means the symbol will be working this way. And we would say 38 is greater than 29. Third example, we have 75 and 78. Now, if we look at the tens place, they are exactly the same. 70 and 70 are equal. Now, the numbers aren't equal because now we're going to move over to the ones place. Now, over here, we have 5 and 8, and we know that 8 is greater than 5. So the symbol will look like this, and we would read it 75 is less than 78. Now finally, I chose this example 19 and 91 to make sure you really understand the difference between the tens place and the ones place. We have used the same digits. I've changed the location, and I've made completely different numbers as a result. Now the 1 in the tens place and the 9 in the ones makes the number 19. If I switch them and put the 9 in the tens place and the 1 in the ones place, I've made the number 91. Now again, think of this as ages. If we had someone who's 19 years old and someone who's 91 years old, I think you know automatically which number is greater. All right, so let's look at those tens. This number only has one 10. This number has 9 of them. 9 is definitely greater than 1. So we will make the less than symbol and read it as 19 is less than 91. All right, I hope this review was helpful for you. I'm going to write down a few questions for you to practice before tomorrow. They will not all be greater than less than. I'm also going to write a couple of addition and subtraction questions. We're going to keep reviewing those daily until it's easy and you can do it without even thinking about it. So I've made the numbers in alternating colors to help you see that a little more clearly. These ones you need to decide if they are greater than, less than, or equal to. These ones I would like you to add the numbers. That's why I wrote add at the top. These numbers you subtract. I put the add and subtract because a lot of kids tend to get confused if they look quickly. You'll notice they have the different signs, but those can be easy to miss if you're not looking carefully. So these are adding, these are subtracting. Best of luck with these, and I will see you tomorrow.